that being an atheist actually helps you to be a better scientist?
Well, that's a good question as well. Actually, all scientists are atheists when they do science. So even the religious ones, like Kenneth Miller in the United States or Francis Collins, who are both Christians, both devout Christians, when they go into the laboratory, they basically don't accept God. So when you're doing your science, you don't invoke the supernatural. Let me say again that is not an a priori rule of science. You do not invoke God. That's something that was developed over histories when we found out that invoking God never helped us understand anything. This is a mistake that many critics of science make, that you don't assume God, so you're being closed-minded. You know, it's possible there is a God. And in fact, at one time, scientists did invoke God. Newton did, when he saw that the planets stayed in regular orbit around the sun. He couldn't understand that using his own formula, so he said, well, God must guide that. And then Laplace came around soon thereafter and did some more calculations and found out that, yes, planetary orbits are stable, so we didn't need God. And there's a famous statement that Laplace is supposed to have made. He gave a book on his results called the Mécanique Céleste, Celestial Mechanics, to Napoleon, the Emperor Napoleon. And Napoleon looked through it. The story may be apocryphal, and said, well, this is a very nice book, Mr. Laplace, but I don't see any mention of God in here. And Laplace is supposed to have replied, we didn't need that hypothesis. So, and that's what science has found. I mean, that story again may be apocryphal, but it's very true that we once needed that hypothesis, or at least used that hypothesis, but it's never been useful. I mean, the hypothesis that God keeps the planets in orbit was not one that helped us explain anything. It was purely naturalism. The hypothesis that God made the plants and animals, and that's why they're so well suited for their environments, at one time was the only explanation for, you know, the diversity of nature. And then Darwin came along. I see you have your Darwin shirt on, and explained that as a result of naturalism. So all scientists are atheists, and we're atheists as we do science, because invoking anything supernatural or non-natural has not helped science progress one bit. There's not one contribution that religious belief has ever made to the progress of science. In terms of whether religious scientists are not as good scientists as atheist scientists, that's a good question. The answer would tend to be yes if you look at the data. So if you look at scientists in America, just the average scientist, they're about 40% of them are religious. So that's a lot higher proportion of atheists than the American public, which is about 85 to 92% religious. So scientists are about half as religious. But if you go up the class and you look at, for example, scientists at very good research universities, then the proportion of religious scientists drops to about 30%. Now, if you go to the very highest echelon of American science, the members of the National Academy of Sciences, which are the elite body of scientists that are picked to be the best, there are only 2% of those are religious. So it's, you know, you can conclude from that either that the more atheistic scientists are the better scientists because they're the more accomplished ones, or that somehow being a better scientist makes you more atheistic. I mean, I think the reasonable explanation is that if you're willing to, you know, if you abandon faith early in your life, or if you give it up later on, it tends to make you a better scientist. But it's, I mean, all I can do is give you the statistics on that. So.